G'day there. Last time we looked at the money equation and had a look at how the government believes the figures are going to be much higher if we retain our water assets as opposed to opting into the government reforms. You might remember from the last clip that the government estimates by 2051, using today's dollars, if we opt into the reforms, it's going to cost around $1,640 a year for your three water services in Central Otago, as opposed to $7,790 if we opt out. Obviously, there is a huge difference between those two figures. We've had an independent consultant firm, Morrison Lowe, look at the figures and give us some thinking on those. And we're going to look at that now. It does get quite complicated, so please stick with it. And if you want to dive even deeper, please have a look on the CODC website under the Three Waters Reforms page. Morrison Lowe, the consultant firm that undertook the work for Council, challenged the Water Industry Commission of Scotland figures in 5 ways. Firstly, Wix was around 4% low on the proportion of Three Waters revenue that is received from households in Central Otago. Secondly, Wix estimated the number of household connections using a New Zealand average, which doesn't work in Central. This means Wix gave a very low estimate of the number of connections in Central Otago. Thirdly, Wix estimates of the amount of investment required in Central Otago in the Three Waters space was significantly higher than Council or Morrison Lowe's projections. Fourthly, Morrison Lowe believes that Wix was in error in its claim as to how much the debt CODC has to raise to pay for the necessary Three Waters investment would cost ratepayers. And finally, Morrison Lowe considered the Wix assumption that the new entity will be able to achieve operating and capital efficiencies totalling 53.3% and 50% respectively over a 20-year period. So, some fairly significant variation in the way that Morrison Lowe has looked at the figures for Council and the way that the Water Industry Commission for Scotland has looked at them for the government. However, Morrison Lowe has taken all those figures and calculations into account and has still come to the conclusion that the people of Central Otago into the future will actually be financially better off if the reforms go ahead. Morrison Lowe have calculated that if only half the efficiency gains Wix expects the new entity to make were achieved, and only half the level of investment Wix claims CODC requires was delivered by Council, the people of Central in 2051 will still be around $900 a year better off if we opt in today's dollars. All of these figures are open to challenge, of course, and trying to predict anything 30 years out is a very difficult exercise indeed. Next time we're going to look at the planning interface. That's how a new entity, if this process goes forward, is going to deal with things such as subdivisions in the Central Otago of the future. I look forward to seeing you then.